everybody. Welcome or welcome back to Novel Idea. My name is Dia, and today is a week in review. So this is going to be where I get to tell you about what I have finished this week, what I am still in the middle of, and possibly what is up next. So let's just get into it. All right, I had to do a little change of location because my husband is home and he is in the middle of a meeting right now. So you're gonna hear some background noise probably. I'm going to try to do this anyway because I want to wrap up my week with you. So my first book that I finished was The Girl of Ink and Stars. This is by Kieran Millwood Hargraves. It is about an island nation called Joya, and it is a place where it's like a dystopian society now. The songbirds have left, and the only kind of bird left on the island are crows, and everyone is slightly afraid of them. There is a harsh ruling governor, and he basically has forbidden that anybody on the island go anywhere except for in the city. Our protagonist's name is Isabella, and she is the daughter of a cartographer. They have in their home the only map of the island in the before times. It is not a book that I would recommend for young middle grade. I think this is a much more appropriate story for like 14, 15, 16. I would not do 8 to 12. So as we go through our story, Isabella kind of finds out some dark secrets about her island. And it's a story of what can draw a community together. It's a story of overcoming. It is a story of friendship and what truly binds us. It was wonderful. It's just got a horror aspect to it that I don't think is appropriate for the younger side of middle grade. So the next book that I completed this week was The Willoughbys by Lois Lowry. This is a story about a family who really don't like each other. The parents are not fond of their children. Their children, as a result, are not very fond of their parents. And their parents kind of hatch an evil scheme at the same time that the children are trying to figure out a way to send their parents away and allow them to just live in the house. The parents are also hatching a scheme to be done as parents. And this really didn't feel like a Lois Lowry book to me. I'm used to Lois Lowry being very poignant, very insightful, and this was not that kind of book at all. I was actually kind of surprised. It reminded me of the Lemony Snicket books. So somebody is hatching an evil plan to get rid of these children, and things are constantly being thwarted. They end up with a nanny that is very loving, very kind, and begins to teach the children what it means to really love one another, to be helpful and kind members of society. And there's a little side tangent story in the book that also feels very Lemony Snicket to me. All right, so the third book that I finished was Word After Word After Word. This is by Patricia MacLachlan. Very sweet, very poignant, has a lesson to learn and you don't feel like you're learning one. It is about a fourth grade class. Most of the kids in the class are good friends with each other. We are being told the story of 5 of them. And basically what happens is their teacher invites a well-known author to come and speak to her fourth grade class for several weeks in a row about writing. And it changes the lives of these 5 kids. And we get to learn about life outside of the classroom. And then as we go through, she shares the stories of the children. The poems that they write each time have something to do with the story that you have just learned about their actual life. And it is absolutely lovely. The way that she writes friendship is so compelling. And the way that she writes support and cheering others on and the love of family, and no matter what you're going through, it's fabulous. I would highly recommend it. The next one that I finished was Rackety Tam. This is by Brian Jacques. It is one of the Redwall books, and it is about the same thing that all the Redwall books are about. It is about a very peaceful abbey where the peaceful creatures of the wood live. And then there is always some antagonist that comes along that is evil, that wants to capture the abbey and the riches of the abbey, when the riches are really in the hearts and in the love and in the community, the sharing, the working together. Those are the riches of the abbey. There are no real riches otherwise. But nobody believes that until they take their swing at them, basically. Rackety Tam is a northern squirrel, and anyway, he is the hero of this particular story, and it's wonderful. It's just, I love all the Redwall books. So Rackety Tam by Brian Jacques, one of the many Redwall books. I would say if you haven't read any of the Redwall and you want to get into them, for the most part, you do not need to read them in any kind of order. However, I would start with Redwall, the actual book Redwall. I would start there. And Mossflower is the next book, and it kind of gives you a little bit more of a background story. So those two are pretty important to the rest of the books, but after that you can read them pretty much in any order. You don't have to read them in any particular order after that. Then I finished my reread of A Wrinkle in Time. This is by Madeline L'Engle, and it is the story of Meg and Charles Wallace Murray and Calvin O'Keefe, and they encounter 3 beings who help them to discover some things that are going on on planet Earth, and also help them to find Meg and Charles Wallace's father, who has disappeared, and to bring him home. And they have quite an adventure, both inwardly and outwardly. It is a science fiction. It is a story of love, and it is absolutely wonderful. I can't recommend it highly enough. The other two books that follow this, I also absolutely love. It's called a quartet, and the final book in that quartet is not one that I would recommend to anyone, but the first three are wonderful. Next book I finished was Gathering Blue by Lois Lowry. This is the kind of book that I expect from Lois Lowry. This is a companion novel to The Giver. So The Giver won all kinds of awards. Everybody knows about it. Not a lot of people know that there are 3 more books in the series. So, or in the world, I should say. You do not have to have read The Giver in order to read this. However, the 2 books that follow this one, you should have read The Giver and this one for. This one we follow our protagonist, Kira, whose mother has just died. It's the very opening of the story. In this world, which is very dystopian, we find that children who no longer have parents are either given to other parents, or they are taken into a government program, kind of, for gifted children. And Kira happens to be one of the gifted. She is finding a new way of living, a new way to do life without parents in this world where she is being used for her gifts, and yet it in a way stifles that gift. Just a fabulous, fabulous book. I did not like The Giver until I read this book and the other 2 that follow it. The Giver to me felt unhopeful. It didn't feel like there was any kind of resolve to the story. And so it was hard for me to get behind it because I didn't feel like it was complete. Well, it wasn't, but I didn't know that for probably a couple of decades after I read The Giver. So yes, I would highly encourage, if you have read The Giver, to pick up the rest of the books, starting with Gathering Blue. Then I read spur of the moment buddy read with Michelle from Books Cause Insomnia. We got to talking about doing a cozy mystery together because we both enjoy cozy mysteries. And so we picked up Books Can Be Deceiving, and this is by Jenn McKinlay. It's the first book in her series about library love or something like that. I don't remember what it's called. And we follow our main character, Lindsay, who has just gone through a very bad breakup with a fiance and has moved to a very small Connecticut coastal town, and rides her bike everywhere, has become the library director of this small town, and the town is populated with a cast of characters who are fabulous. They are so wonderful. And I didn't think I was going to like it when I started because it was kind of man bashing, but it was only that way for the first chapter or two. And then we kind of moved on from that and moved into the mystery. And it was so wonderful, you guys. It was so much fun. And I had so much fun reading this with Michelle. So we are in this town particularly because Lindsay's best friend was working at this library, and she told her about an opening for the directorship right about the time that she was needing a change. And so Lindsay and her best friend Beth are working at this library, and Beth's got a book that she would love to have published. She is the children's librarian, and she has a children's book that she would like to publish. And her boyfriend at the time that the book opens is a Caldecott winning author and illustrator. And he ends up being the murder victim. And so we are basically trying to, and of course Beth ends up being the one who gets blamed for it. So we are following Lindsay and Beth as they try to figure out who has killed this man and why they did it. And we find out all kinds of little things in the process, of course. And we're introduced to some characters in the process that we're pretty sure are going to be in the rest of the series. And we've already ordered the second book. We're going to read it together as well. We're very excited about it. And it was just great fun. Cozy mysteries are one of those kinds of books that are sort of brain candy for me. I don't have to think a lot when I'm reading them. They're not this, really deep sociological, psychological literature that needs pulling apart and digging in deep and that kind of stuff. There's something just fun, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And Michelle and I had all kinds of theories flying back and forth with one another, and we had all the kinds of things that we appreciated that the author was doing. We were telling each other the personality quirks that we were enjoying or not enjoying. And the only thing that I didn't find perfect about this cozy mystery was that there was no animal companion. And it just feels odd to not have an animal companion. We had books, we had needlework, we had food, we had a small town vibe, and a non-professional sleuth finding answers about things. But we didn't have an animal. But when we ordered the second book, we noticed that there's an animal on the cover. So we're hoping that we get an animal companion very soon. I think that's it for the ones that I finished this week. And so the ones that I am still in the middle of are A Day of Fallen Night. This is by Samantha Shannon. This is my mammoth for March of the Mammoths. And it is 880 pages, I think. And it's a sequel to Priory of the Orange Tree. So we are basically discovering how the Priory was founded, and we are discovering some very important figures of the Priory and why it was important. There's still dragons, very nice. I am also still reading Princess Bari with Katja from Katja Weinert, and this is by Hwang Sak-young, and I was really enjoying it at the beginning, It was very kind of folklore-esque, and it still was set in a modern time period, modern being like 1940s. And it's back to being a story that I really want to know the ending of. So I don't think it's going to take Katja and I much longer to finish it, and I can tell you about it next week. I'm still in the middle of New Seeds of Contemplation by Thomas Merton and Absolute Surrender by Andrew Murray. And both of those are religious texts that I am reading for Lent. And then I'm also beginning to study Daniel, the book of Daniel in the Bible. And that's for our Bible study that I am a part of. And so those are the things that I'm in the middle of. And then the things that are up next are going to be The Genius of Willie MacMichael by George MacDonald. Then I have Little Maid of Old Connecticut. This is by Alice Turner Curtis next. And then I'm also going to pull Hickory out. And this is by Palmer Brown. Do I have anything else that is coming up? Michelle and I are going to probably start the next book. We're both waiting on them. And I think that's it, you guys. I hope that you are having a wonderful reading week. I hope that if you are participating in some of the readathons, read-alongs that are going on, that you are enjoying them and that you're getting lots of reading done. We have had snow galore the last few days, and it's still snowing outside currently. It's not coming down very heavy, but it is coming down in a non-stop manner. So I'm sure that we'll have even more buildup. But thank you for joining me today, listening to me talk about some books. I hope that you enjoyed it. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up if you did. And I will see you in the next video. Subscribe if you want to. Bye, everybody.